On August 7th, 2011, Donna died in hospice. She entered hospice exactly 21 days prior. She was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer 938 days before her death, or 22,512 hours. August 7th, 2011 was 10,311 days after we were married. On May 15th, 1983, we had 247,464 hours of marriage, love, and more. This anniversary will be 4,384 days since her death. That's 105,216 hours of grief, memories, hurt, and learning. Those are the increments of time of my grief journey, which comes into sharp focus on Donna's day of death. The time between this date each year is filled with much. In fact, that time between the August 11th is where I live, where I reside, personally and emotionally. But as with any anniversary, this being a death anniversary, you stop, you measure, and you consider. You take a moment to remember what was, what is, and what's not. Love remains when knowing passes. Love during grieving, if listened to in the stillness of a silent evening, brings understanding. I love the image of sitting in a field after sunset and fireflies appear to guide you forward, blinking a rhythmic light, saying, this way, this way, this way. I think in all this time since Donna's death, I have been moving this way. Donna loved to say, there's a reason they call it history. It happened then. No need to look back. This then for me is where I reside. It is what is with me. It is what was and what is. This anniversary of Donna's death is different. It's more a retrospective of insight over all that time that I talked about at the beginning. At times, the loss is abject pain creating thoughts that cannot be shared. This time, this history offers insight that I can look at, that I can listen to. The memories of Donna vibrating within me like a stringed instrument. And those vibrations are not just background to my life and self-pity. No, no. Those vibrations sing of joy and sing of understanding. This year, I think for the first time, is about what was gained and learned and achieved since her death. But it was not done de novo. It didn't just magically come in. And it wasn't probably something within me that I did. It was done because of Donna. I'm not standing on Donna's ashes looking taller from knowledge. I'm standing next to her ashes with my finger, tracing a heart in them, knowing she loved me into being, believed in me when I didn't. And from the box of ashes, she has imbued my growth. Each of these 4,384 days. It was her and some of the work I did on my grief journey. There is a quantitative baseline of my emotional status that happened in 2012. It was a result of a bike accident, a subsequent subdural hematoma. I nearly died. I was placed in residential rehab for a month where I had to learn to walk and talk. Obviously, some of it still needs to be done. Post-rehab, I continued with outpatient rehab, but more doing psychotherapy. I was working with a neuropsychologist, and I spent 4 months chatting my ass off with her. It was kind of fun as fuck in a way. Just now, after requesting the records from that time, I received them. And I took a look at the files, and it's kind of surprising what was in there. And again, as I said, a quantitative baseline. This is the language she used that overlays my emotional language and change I've made over this time. So that's what we're going to talk about. There's a lot that was in the reports, most of it jargon and test scores. So we'll leave that be. I think what the neuropsych stated as her plan speaks to what I described as the fireflies pointing this way. It is jargon and emotional reality of me. And I think they kind of match up. What followed that time with her is the here and now of me and what I've continued to learn over the years from Donna during her life and the time since her death, albeit perhaps not that well. So, short-term treatment goals, and I'm going to look down and read this so it's accurate. Establish emotional regulation strategies to manage frustration and tolerance. Increase acceptance of changes following injury. Increase sense of purpose via engagement and feelings of efficiency. So that was her goal for I think it was 4 months I was hanging out with her. But within that, I think there are some other things that I did that occurred, as I said, de novo, since Donna's death. So, lots of jargon in the goals that were set. In her assessment of me and her assessment of what she was going to try to achieve. I think taking them as a general statement of goals is fair and legit. And seeing if this many years later, those changes were made and they worked. The problem is their jargon. They are not the emotional me, as I said. Not the parts of my grief journey and the memories of Donna. The neuropsych identified things. Donna, through my grief journey, carried me to meet those objectives. It was the hard look at my grief journey and my memories and Donna and me that I think helped me meet those objectives. There is some additional language used in the full report that sort of also fits. I'm not going to piss and moan about the language and debate it. This was a highly educated professional, and I don't think I'm in a place to debate the language, but I want to go through some of the language because later in part 2 of this, we're going to see how some of this comes into play on the changes I've made that, in this retrospective on this anniversary that I'm beginning to see. So, here's what she said. Here's what she wrote down. Imposter. Better self-perception of self. Feeling productive and connected as a method of intellectual validation. View future within shifted perspective. Limited external reinforcements. Yeah. Falling short. Increased flexibility and insight into perspective and ways to make changes. So those were, over the time, some of the language she used as we were going through this. So again, that's sort of the baseline. Quantitative, psych language, jargon. So all of that as I said, is the baseline. It's what she said. It's all the psychology of it, talk therapy, etc. In part two, we'll be looking at it and the things that happened, that I did, that Donna guided me. I still believe Donna guided me. It was her that brought me to where I am today on this anniversary, having a retrospective and trying to look at, okay, as miserable as I've been all these years, some of what the neuropsych identified has been achieved. De novo, through Donna, and through myself. I guess you could call it post-traumatic growth, which I'm kind of a fan of. So, this anniversary of her death is a pin drop in the map of my life saying, here is where I am. Though I'm looking back, knowing that to get here, I had to do this journey. So, thank you for watching. Leave a comment, subscribe, share, do all that cool groovy stuff. Thank you.